She makes like video content of old games, like
I'm sorry,
Juggernaut.
baby.
Alright, if you're gonna have these conversations, can you please let me know?
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
They're being insanely loud.
I am. I'm sorry. I was too loud, guys.
I gotta feel in trouble.
I'm sorry. My wife wants to go to sleep. I'm sorry, guys.
At this score, you're outing yourself as never having hobbies, never having a friend group, never having a relationship, and never being able to just stare at the ceiling with a buddy talking about life. That seems a little defensive, doesn't it? Seems, oh wait, someone's critical of a 10 out of 10 score from IGN. You never had a relationship before. You're a loser who sits at home alone. Huh? Like, whoa. Can we take a few steps back? That sounds pretty harsh. Okay, this particular topic, okay? Well, Phil, why didn't you bring it up before now? Right? Like, this came out, what was it? I believe it was like the 7th, so 3 days ago. Sure, I could have played it. Sure, I could have talked about it. Sure, I could have been up in a big uproar on the internet about it, like everyone else apparently seems to be. I was told just this morning that big content creators are covering this game now, like Asmongold and stuff like that, right? So why didn't I talk about it until today, and why did I choose today? Well, folks, it's because there's a very simple reason why I didn't talk about Mixtape. Because it fucking sucks. I saw the preview of it about a year ago, whenever it was that it was first premiered at Summer Game Fest or whatever. And the moment that we saw that game and we saw, oh, look, the kids are floating and flying through the air and they're riding bikes and they're flipping things off and they're exploding and the whole soundtrack is licensed and all that. The moment you saw it, you say, that is 100% liberal, left-pushing, nostalgia bait, slop. You know that that game is nothing of substance, okay? The moment that you look at it, you're like, that's not for me. You know, I'm someone who looks for something different in a game. Now, I want you to understand something. There are people who probably like that kind of game, and that's okay. Like I said, I feel like in the gaming landscape, there's space for every kind of game, okay? There is. In this today, there's not. Now, gaming has become so big and so mainstream that there's tons of games that can be produced for different kinds of audiences. There is an audience for Mixtape, okay? It's about 2,000 people because that's about a number of people who reviewed it on Steam, and that's about the number of concurrent players that the game is getting on Steam right now. It's about 2,000 people. So 2,000 people are welcome to enjoy Mixtape. There's nothing wrong with that. But I know it's not for me. Therefore, I didn't care that it was coming out. I didn't follow it. I didn't stalk it. I didn't study it. I wasn't anticipating it coming out so I could play it and say it sucks. However, in today's modern landscape, we have a problem. We have two groups of people who want to butt heads together, much like currently in politics in the United States, we have this problem. We have the leftist liberals and we have the conservative Republicans on the right, and they are constantly slamming excuse me. In American politics, we currently have a political situation where we have two parties that are at each other's throats. We have the very leftist liberals and we have the very conservative right-wing Republicans, and they are constantly slamming their heads together like this. And they never want to work together. It's like, you're my enemy, black and white, good and bad. They don't want to work together to make things better for Americans. Instead, they just want to argue with each other and constantly say that each other are villains. Okay? Sadly, what's happened, politics have become pop culture now. Our president, Donald Trump, was a reality TV star. And so what happens is the lines have been blurred with everything in the entertainment medium. How many times have I said in the last several years, I just want to play a video game. I don't want politics in my video game, which is why when you're playing Dragon Age Veilguard and there's a scene about pulling a bar because you misgendered someone, you're like, what the hell is going on in my video game? I don't want that in my video game. I just want to play a game. I want to unplug from reality and the drama and the culture wars and the politics. I just want to enjoy a game at face value. Why aren't I allowed to do that? Okay? And the problem is what's happened is because this has happened in politics and in culture wars. Now it's permeated gaming. So you have the gaming journalists who have become ultra leftists all the way to the one side. Any game that's artsy, any game that seems to tug on the heart feels or has some kind of these liberal kind of leaning, plot lines, all of a sudden it's a 10 out of 10. It's the best game I've ever played. I can't believe it. And this has been happening for the last 6 to 7 years. And it all started in 2020 with The Last of Us 2, a year when notably almost all real gamers said, I'm sorry, Ghost of Tsushima is Game of the Year. That game blew it out of the park. It gave us the open world samurai style sneaking around gameplay that we wanted from Assassin's Creed, and Ubisoft refused to give it to us. This game had it all. Amazing graphics, great gameplay, a great narrative. That game's Game of the Year. But the gaming journalist said, oh no, The Last of Us 2, with its themes of acceptance and bigotry and all of this, the human, condition of all this in the apocalypse, that's Game of the Year. Even though factually, if you analyze the game, it has a lot of flaws, including some of the worst writing and pacing I've ever experienced in a video game, completely destroying the character that was central to the series within the first couple of hours of the game. Horrible choice, shock factor to get people talking. And you got the right people talking in games journalism who said it was Game of the Year, and it gets voted Game of the Year. And this has continued every single year since 2020, where you get the games journalists who are focusing on all these particular kinds of topics and feelings and reasons why they think games are great, while actual people who enjoy games, who play them for gaming's sake, not for the sake of an agenda or a perspective or some kind of, push, they say, we don't agree with you. A huge rift has occurred between the actual games journalists and the gamers. I've been saying in the last decade, I don't even understand why mainstream games journalism continues to exist. There was a reason why it needed to exist a long time ago. Before the dawn of the internet, before the dawn of live streaming everything, you needed games journalists because they were given these games early. They were able to review the game for about a month before it actually was released into the wild for sale. They would publish their review, put it in a game magazine or an online article, so you would know if a game was worth your money before you went and spent it. Today, we don't need that. Today, guess what? Immediate interaction with every single game developer and publisher because they are talking about their games so early. They're putting out digital presentations. They're showing you early gameplay previews. Sometimes they even release demos and alpha versions. You know about a game months and months and months before it ever releases. You know everything about it. You know most of the games, you leak most of the story before the game's even out. So why on earth do we need a games journalist when the day a game comes out, your favorite creator already is playing it and giving you their opinion live for free? You don't need to go to some bloated website full of ads and garbage to sift through trash to find the review that tells you why Mixtape should be your Game of the Year 10 out of 10. So why does IGN exist? Why does GameSpot exist? Why do any of these websites exist? Money. Because this is how these games get pushed to the forefront. Money. It's big business, right? Companies like Annapurna and other games publishers and developers and companies are in cahoots with games journalists to get certain games pushed to the forefront, okay? That's the only reason why games journalism is even pertinent or existing in 2026. Because if it weren't for the money, no one would give a shit. We would all say, why would we ever pay attention to these companies and just say, get out of the way? We've got people who we trust who every day tell us their opinions on games, and then we can judge for ourselves because we're not stupid. But those websites think you're stupid. They think that you will see the 10 out of 10 review and go buy Mixtape based off of it. Okay? So what's happened is this big divide between games journalists and actual gamers. However, for as bad as that is and that situation is, there's another thing that has happened in the last couple of years that I've noticed notably that I think I need to call out now because I want to be fair. For as many games journalists as there are that are left-leaning and pushing agendas and trying to say this particular kind of game is Game of the Year, There's equally now becoming an amount of creators and content coverers, whatever you want to call them, on the other side of the aisle that say any game that has any kind of liberal content is woke, is slop, is bad, and should absolutely never be entertained by anyone. It's garbage. It shouldn't exist. In my opinion, that's just as bad because you're basically saying, well, because you're that, you're bad. Well, can you actually give me unique reasons why? Like, here's the thing. I can totally understand someone playing Mixtape and liking it. Someone who isn't really a mainstream gamer. They don't want challenge in their games. They're just looking for a cool narrative. And as long as the game is presented as such, and everyone knows, hey, this game's only about 2 to 3 hours long. You don't really play it. It's like watching a movie. All right. And as long as you're okay with that, then you should buy it. Fine. Maybe if you say 10 out of 10, maybe that's an unfair review score. All right. Okay. But the reason that it gets me is because I didn't know about Mixtape because I purposefully avoided it. When I saw the presentation for this game about a year ago, it didn't look like it was for me. It definitely looked like left-leaning kind of slop. And I was like, I don't care about this game. I'm not going to talk about it. I'm not going to cover it. I'm going to ignore it. Instead, I'm going to focus on good games. And it's not like there's any shortage of good games out right now. I mean, heck, just in the last few weeks, I've played some really cool games like Mouse PI for Hire, a game that has a unique cartoony style with a film noir storyline. It plays like a classic FPS from the 1990s, and it has unique elements to it that make it feel like something different, and it truly stands out. Or how about Pragmata, a game that was in development hell at Capcom for a very long time, but actually now that it's out has great graphics, an interesting narrative, a combination of survival gameplay like Dead Space with puzzle aspects. I've never even seen something like that combined on the fly in a game. Now, it's certainly not a lengthy game, but it is a unique one that's going to stand out in my mind. Hell, right now I'm playing Pokemon Fire Red, the re-release of a classic game that just came out again on the Switch 2. I'm getting to experience this game for the very first time because I never played it back in the day, and even that's been an awesome experience for me. So there's games out that I'm playing and I'm very thoroughly enjoying. Why would I be wasting my time complaining about Mixtape's existence? And the answer is simple, folks. For as much as there are leftist-leaning game journalists who want to push one narrative down your throat, there's now a group of right-leaning grifters who also want to push a narrative down your throat. Because the truth is, Mixtape isn't a big deal. There's 2,000 people playing it right now. That's it. No one cares about this game. In fact, you probably wouldn't even know that Mixtape existed if it weren't for these people creating this giant uproar on the internet right now about it. So why do you need to know about it if you didn't before? The answer is, you don't. There used to be games like this that would come out and no one would care, and we would brush them under the rug. But now for every Mixtape or Dustborn or these games that come out, we need to know about them now because we somehow need to be in an uproar and an outrage that they even exist, or that games journalists would say that it's 10 out of 10. Why? How many games have IGN put out a horrible review of? I mean, I just mentioned Mouse PI for Hire. They said that game's a 6 out of 10. Yeah, the person who reviewed that game is retarded. They don't even know what's a good video game, in my opinion. But that doesn't mean that I care that they gave it a 6 out of 10. I say, yeah, IGN, yeah, their reviews are pretty retarded. I don't really pay attention to them because they don't know what they're talking about. And I play games and judge them for myself. That's what most people should be doing. If you're dumb and you're ignorant, you probably go to IGN. You know, those are the 3 first letters of the word ignorant. So there you go. That's who relies on that crap, not the normal gamers or people out there who know better. So why do I care if they gave Mixtape a 10 out of 10? I don't. Why do I care if Mixtape wins Games for Change at the Game Awards? I don't. In fact, I don't care about the Game Awards because they don't mean anything. You want to know why? Guess who votes on the winners of the Game Awards? The left-leaning games journalists. So why do I care who wins Game of the Year? I don't. I just play games for myself and I enjoy myself and I enjoy good games. I don't focus on the negative because I understand that's clickbait. Get it? All these people right now who are in a big uproar about Mixtape, do you really think that they care if this thing wins Game of the Year or Games for Change? No, you want to know what they care about? The engagement on their fucking social media posts, getting the clickbait views on their YouTube video, claiming that Mixtape is a big deal. It's not. Mixtape is a 3-hour fart in the wind produced by a billionaire heiress that means nothing. Right now, there's a whole bunch of sound and fury in the game sphere about it, and within 1 week, no one will give a damn. That's why I don't talk about it. That's why I'm not going to play it. I don't give a shit. I focus on things that are good, not things that I know are bad. I don't go out of my way to say that they're bad. No shit, Sherlock. I know better than that. I have better things to do with my time. But a lot of people out there who make content don't respect yours and want you to be in an uproar about these little stupid things all the time. You ever wonder why there's news cycles in mainstream news that cover things and all of a sudden they drop them when they're not popular anymore? That's exactly what's happening with games coverage now. That we're trying to get the hot topic that will get you polarized. Culture wars. Oh my God. You need to know about this. It's very important. And then 2 days later, something else happens and they forgot all about it like it never existed. Because that's all they care about. Your initial engagement, your initial attention. They're not there to actually make you understand something important. They just want you to click. So you got to be careful. I'm looking at this. I'm like, why are people talking about this? Why are people making streams about this? Why does anyone give a shit? This is why. Not because Mixtape is some kind of huge affront to gamers because it's going to ruin gaming and everything. No one cares about Mixtape. 2,000 people bought it so far. So who gives a shit? Right? But people will act like it's some big deal, and you don't have to fall into that black hole. You can say, oh, Mixtape, don't care, close, and not follow the trends. That's the smart thing to do because these idiots just want your time and attention, and by that way, they make a lot of money. Why else would they do it? Okay. All right, folks. So that's what I have to say about Mixtape. I don't give two shits. I'm not going to talk about it again because it doesn't exist. Okay, we got some shout outs to do. So we start off with Lazuli with a 20 euro super chat. Thank you so much, Lazuli. That is 23 bucks. That's our biggest super chat of the day. Let's get that up on the leaderboard here. $23.60 to be precise. And he says, I was watching your previous Pokemon Fire Red, trying to catch up. I realized you didn't restore the fossil Pokemons. No, I haven't. You're right. You need to go back to Cinnabar Island. I want to name Aerodactyl Pazuzu. Well, we can't. At this score, you're outing yourself as never having hobbies, never having a friend group, never having a relationship, and never being able to just stare at the ceiling with a buddy talking about life. It seems a little defensive, doesn't it? Seems, oh wait, someone's critical of a 10 out of 10 score from IGN. You never had a relationship before. You're a loser who sits at home alone. Huh? Like, whoa. Can we take a few steps back? That sounds pretty harsh. Okay.